Hi guys, I'm Namdi from Afroverse channel, and today on this channel we're going to be talking about a very interesting character in the name of Chief Festus Okotie-Eboh, as we look to uncover his life, his mysteries, and many other things about him. Do stay tuned and enjoy the ride. Who is Chief Festus Okotie-Eboh? Why is he so important in Nigerian's history? He was well known for his flamboyant dresses and garments, as shown here, where this bearer holding the 25th train of Chief Festus Okotie-Eboh as the minister arrived with his wife at the House of Representatives. Okotie-Eboh was born to an Shekiri father, Chief Prince Okotie-Eboh, and an Urobo mother, Ekayode Ojegba, on July 18, 1912, in Warri Division, a town along the Benin River in Niger Delta. He was named Sam Eda, but later changed his name to Festus Sam Okotie-Eboh. It is believed that his father was of Urobo ethnic group parentage and had settled in the Shekiri land for eons. His mother was from the Urobo ethnic group in Okpe land in Delta State. The name Okotie is said to be an Urobo name. Chief Festus Okotie-Eboh did his elementary education in his hometown and then proceeded to Sapele Baptist School in Sapele, where he eventually completed his secondary school education. In 1930, he took up an appointment as an assessment clerk in Sapele Township Office. After a brief stint with teaching, he joined the Bata Shoe Company Limited, where he rose to the post of chief clerk. After working at the British Bata Company for a while, he became a deputy manager in Sapele. During this time, he was also a member of the Warri Port Advisory Committee and the Sapele Township Advisory Board. He took business courses as a private worker. At a time when most Nigerians of his peers were traveling only interested in studying law and politics, this man had the intelligence to have studied business administration in faraway Czechoslovakia. With his diploma in business administration and organization, he resolved to go into business on his own. On returning to the country, he quit his prior position and started a successful business, selling timber, rubber, and owning a few schools. His business conglomerate included the Okotie-Eboh Grammar School and Omimi Plastics and Shoe Factories. He was a wealthy man. According to some Nigerian writers, Chief Festus Okotie-Eboh was even as rich as Dantata, who owned 40% of the Granite Pyramid in Kano State. He set up the Rewane family, whom he encouraged to open a flour mill near his residence in the same Ogorede that was to employ thousands of Deltans and non-Deltans. He is said to have built 2 primary schools and 2 secondary schools, naming one after his friend Zeke and the other academicals, which later became Okotie-Eboh Grammar School. All this he built before he stepped into government. It is said that the old Ogorede road that his pal, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, drove along to solicit finances for the NCNC was tarred by Okotie-Eboh with his personal money. After making it big time in business, going into politics in 1948 was just the icing on the cake. After all, he was the financier of the NCNC. He played his politics with the same enterprising spirit as he did in business. He won a seat in the Warri Division Council following a hectic election. As a grassroots politician, he was the councillor in the Warri Provincial Council. Later, he served as a member of the Sapele Township Advisory Board, Warri Provincial Port Authority Community, and the Warri Divisional Community. Chief Festus Okotie-Eboh was a political enigma. The man never lost an election. A chieftain of the National Council of Nigerian Citizens, he became the chief whip of the Western House of Assembly dominated by the Action Congress (AG) in 1959. His parliamentary contributions shaped a major decision in 1951, with some influence from Azikiwe. He contested for a seat and was elected into the Western Region House of Assembly. Okotie-Eboh was appointed Minister of Labour and Social Welfare, having excelled in the art of governance. In 1954, he was elected Treasurer of the NCNC, and in 1957, following the alliance between the NCNC and the Northern Progressive Congress (NPC), Okotie-Eboh was made the Minister of Finance by the Prime Minister Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. He held the office of the Finance Minister until 1966 coup. His reform program in the Finance Ministry gave a new lease to the Nigerian customs. He delegated the responsibilities to the unit instead of asking the port to collect duties. The man introduced pay-as-you-earn taxation system in Nigeria during his tenure as the Minister of Finance. For those who don't understand this system of taxation, it's like the government collecting their own cuts from your paychecks so they can use it to sustain the economy. So he brought it such that once the paycheck is being let out by the government, they will deduct it before they send the balance to the civil workers, which is a system we use up to date. He jacked up the revenue base of government. Okotie-Eboh insisted that Nigeria should own her own currency, which was the Nigerian £10, 10 shillings, and 5 shillings note, and have her own central bank instead of spending on the then West African Currency Board, which was responsible for issuing currencies for colonies. This was how the Central Bank of Nigeria was established in 1958. Chief Okotie-Eboh could therefore be rightly described as the founding father of the CBN. He always displayed the noble characteristics of a statesman and patriot. When the country was grappling with the post-independence challenges and the government wanted to build the Eko Bridge, he personally sought the assistance of Britain and America for grants to execute the project. As a diplomat, Chief Festus Okotie-Eboh had unlimited favor. In fact, he was so favorable that he attracted Julius Berger, the German company, to come and do and execute projects in Nigeria, which we are still benefiting from today. If you look at the bridges constructed in Abuja, and most of the roads constructed in Abuja, all standard, they were all done by Julius Berger, and this was due to this man's influence. His benevolence was enjoyed by his party, the NCNC. He sought for grants for the party when it was broke. His colleague, Chief Richard Akinjide, recalled in the NCNC days, Okotie-Eboh was richer than the party and everybody. He had made his money before coming to politics, and whenever the party was broke, it was to him they went to collect some money for the party activities. Nigerians should be grateful for having someone like him. He was generous to the fault and did not discriminate against tribe or tongue. The MPC-NCNC alliance worked very well because of the cordial relations between Balewa and Okotie-Eboh. The Prime Minister believed that he was a loyal minister. A well-traveled man, Okotie-Eboh was a personal friend of the late United States President John F. Kennedy in the 60s. His visit to the papacy, where they met the Pope, John XVIII, twice, became his greatest religious voyage. He also visited the Israeli statesman, Mr. David Ben-Gurion. The former minister was not happy because of the lingering crisis in the western region. He believed that it would engulf the country. He warned that the crisis was spreading to Lagos and its repercussions being felt throughout Nigeria. He said across the four regions, innocent people are being killed during the electioneering. At the community level, Okotie-Eboh was seen as the number one facilitator, middleman, and dealer who fixed things for his people. He was known to have employed many Urhobos, which included millionaire and boardroom power broker Michael Eboh and Edewo. These men were employees of Okotie-Eboh. While Edewo was his houseboy and trusted servant, Eboh, on the other hand, was a manager of some sorts. And when Okotie-Eboh decided to import frozen fish, at the time, people refused to eat the fish but preferred the fresh fish in their pre-oil pollution waters. The young, forward-looking Michael Eboh asked to be given the fish. He took it to other areas, including Cameroon, and thus Okotie-Eboh gave Nigeria and Urhobo one-time wealthiest man in Africa in the person of Olorogun Michael Eboh, whose fishing conglomerate was feeding many countries in Africa, and the money from which has given birth to Oceanic Bank, Aero Contractors, The Guardian newspaper, Ecole Meridian, and the Sheraton. The critics of Chief Festus Okotie-Eboh often accused him of gross bribery and corruption, which is endemic in current Nigeria. He is said to have been described allegedly by one American diplomat as an inveterate 10%, popularly known as Mr. 10%. This means a habit that has been so accustomed to that it cannot be changed, due to his precocious greed for creaming 10% of every contract awarded by the government. He was also reputed as a legman for the Sardana, the premier of the northern region, Sir Ahmadu Bello. Through Okotie-Eboh was said to have profited from the luscious public corruption of a glamorous First Republic Minister of Finance, as he funneled huge monthly creams of graft to him. Chief Festus Okotie-Eboh had a lakeside view home in Lagos. The Nigerian Federal Minister of Finance earned a salary of £3,000 a year, plus a $80 car allowance and other allowances. But far from that, he has been able to live an extremely flamboyant lifestyle of an average of over £17,000 spending in a month. However, his sympathizers hold an opposing view about the Minister of Finance. They firmly believe that before he went into government, he was acknowledged as a private businessman who, alongside with Sir Louis Odomegu Ojukwu, was one of the wealthiest men in Nigeria at the point. They claim the media, controlled by the intellectual wing of the Action Group, propagated these allegations and responded to events with acrimonious reportage, which often naturally targeted Chief Festus Okotie-Eboh due to the sensitivity of the office he held. They very much held Chief Festus Okotie-Eboh responsible for the reduction in power and influence which occurred when the Midwest region was carved out of the Western region. The reportage became so bad that Chief Okotie-Eboh, rather than continue in the government of Alhaji Tafawa Balewa in the influential position as finance minister, had perfected plans to resign and go into private business. As evidenced by Lee Kuan Yew, who served as the first Prime Minister of Singapore in 1959 to 1990. Mr. Yew reiterated in his book, Third World to First, The Singapore Story from 1965 to 2000, that Raja and I were seated opposite a hefty Nigerian, Festus, their finance minister. The conversation is still fresh in my mind. He was going to retire soon, he said. He had done enough for his country and now had to look after his business, a shoe factory. As finance minister, he had imposed a tax on imported shoes so that Nigeria would make shoes. Raja and I were incredulous. Festus had a good appetite that showed in his rotund figure, elegantly camouflaged in colorful Nigerian robes, with gold ornamentation and a splendid cap. I went to bed that night, convinced that we were a different people playing to a different set of rules. They say, If indeed the man was corrupt, as he has been written about in the Lagos Ibadan media, would he have contemplated resigning? Nigerians does not have a culture of high-profile politicians resigning. When Major Nzogu was to take his school in 1966, among those penciled down to be killed was the Niger Delta business colossus. Along with Ahmadu Bello, Tafawa Balewa, Akintola, and Chief Okotie-Eboh was killed. Rumors say bullets could not penetrate his skin, so they tied him to a car and dragged him. Reports of those who saw his body say he was mangled beyond recognition. It is said that his grave in Okotie-Eboh Baptist Church, where his brother's Zik Grammar School, is still empty of his remains. At the time of his death, Okotie-Eboh was survived by a wife and 14 children. They now keep his memory as a loving father and a patriot who paid the supreme price for his country and died as a victim of circumstance. Okotie-Eboh still remained the popular Omimi Ejo, the water spirit, to the Shekiris. Particularly in the Benin River villages, his respect for the elders was spoken of and his generosity. He himself boasted that he had spent over £3,000 paying other people's fines, usually imposed for non-payment of taxes or breach of customary law. It was said that he paid for a new corrugated roof for the chapel of the Cherubim and Seraphim sect in one village, and he was also paying for the rebuilding of the Dare family shrine, although he was only remotely connected with the family. The state-of-the-art pipe organ of the church, with which he serenaded God to beautiful music, much as David did with the harp, is still kept sacred by his people. In the beginning of this video, I asked who Chief Festus Okotie-Eboh was. He was a family man, a Christian, a philanthropist, a businessman, a politician, and arguably the most flamboyant public office holder Nigeria has ever seen. His reputation was marred with accusations of alleged corruption. However, others say Okotie-Eboh is the only looter without a loot that I know, and there is no loot because he was not a looter. What are your thoughts about Chief Festus Okotie-Eboh? What do you think of his life, the allegations and counter-allegations? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel, as it helps the YouTube algorithm greatly. I am Namdi from Afriverse channel. Thanks for watching. You have a good one.